Hey everyone, this is Shintai, host of the Anime Room, and here with me, once again, a fan favorite, my good friend David. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm ready to complete the trilogy of things I love that you hate.
Well, you don't know if I hate this yet.
Well, I'm just assuming.
You're assuming, okay. Well, I was gonna ask, what do you think I think of this show, but clearly you think I hate this already.
No, I don't know. Just tell me.
I'm gonna say you're right, I fucking hated it!
Yes! The trilogy is complete.
I'm so sorry, I feel so bad, because these are 3 shows in a row that you love, and I don't like either of them.
Don't worry, you can't lie to me. But you know that this is extra special to me because this is my favorite anime.
Yes, that's what makes me feel extra shitty.
For anyone who wants to know literally the story of that, I did a video of like my anime story, and you watched that video. Do you remember?
I do remember. I will link that video in the description. It's a very nice video. Please check it out. Alright, so I don't want to just bash this. I don't want to just trash it. So I do want to say things about it that I do like. I think this is something that I think most people can agree with. The opening is really, really good.
In terms of anime openings, it's very unique. I don't think I've ever seen another opening that is as artistic as that, as well as the music being in like Latin.
I thought the music itself was beautiful. I really loved that song. I think it's very nice. And the visuals are kind of weird. It's like a juxtaposition of the anime characters with the other visuals, which is just very strange. And it creates like a very weird mishmash. And I think it works. I also like the ending theme. I didn't think it's as good as the opening, but I thought the ending theme was good too.
That's interesting you like that, because when I first saw it, I skipped the ending theme because I thought like the jarring nature, because the show's really dark and stuff, but that ending theme's very upbeat.
Yeah, it is a bit unfitting. I will agree with that, but I just meant like looking at the song on its own. I thought it was good.
Oh yeah, I can listen to it by itself.
And I'd say that the music in general was pretty good.
In the show, it uses the opening theme a lot as a like musical accompaniment throughout the show.
I'll also say that the backgrounds, I thought they were really well drawn. The backgrounds were usually like pretty detailed. I also thought Nana was a likable character.
You didn't like Lucy at all, or New?
We'll get into that later.
Oh, okay then, I look forward to that.
I also thought that Kurama,
Oh yeah, he's the chief.
yeah, I thought he was one of the deeper characters in the show.
Oh yeah, his story with his daughter being a Diclonius is really heartbreaking, as well as his sacrifice at the end.
Yeah, what happens at the end was pretty tragic. I would agree with that. I also liked, I don't remember his name, but the crazy military dude.
Who, Bando?
I think that's his name.
The bloodthirsty guy, you know. A lot of fans don't like him, but I actually do like him because I think he's hilarious if you don't take him seriously.
That was basically my attitude towards him. Like, I didn't take him seriously, so I just thought he was like a really fun character.
In the English dub, he's especially funny. Which version did you watch? Was it subbed or dubbed?
I saw it subbed.
I've seen both, subbed and dubbed. The dub's terrible.
No, I heard the dub was bad. That's why I watched it subbed.
Yeah, but the voice actor who plays Bando's really funny because he overacts to fuck.
He probably didn't take the role seriously.
No, I don't think you're meant to take the character seriously. He's just a bloodthirsty fucker.
Yeah. There was that one weird scene though, and I don't know if they ever explained why, but they were gonna cut his balls off. And I was just like, wait, what? Why? What are they doing that for? And he had the same reaction of just like, no, I'm going to escape. Fuck this.
Oh, yeah. Why was he gonna cut off his boobs? Was that explained?
Well, when I watched it, I was waiting for an explanation, and I never got one. I don't know if maybe that's explained in the manga. I also thought that some of the Diclonus and human interactions, that was handled pretty well at times. Like the way that the humans treated the Diclonus. The Diclonus would react in unexpected ways towards humans. That was something I actually thought was pretty good.
Discrimination.
Humans would discriminate against the Diclonus, and then the Diclonus, some of them would have like no qualms and retaliating, and I just thought that was interesting. I also thought Lucy's backstory was probably the highlight of the show.
Those sadistic kids brutally murdering her dog for no reason.
That was actually one of the things I didn't like about the fucking backstory. Because, like, okay, if it was just one kid and he was fucked up in the head and wanted to kill the dog, I could swallow that, I could accept that, I could be like, okay, that's believable. All of the kids were fucked up and all of the kids wanted the dog dead. That's way too much. That's really unrealistic. That just didn't make any sense to me. That all of those kids were fucked up in the head enough. They're like, yeah, let's kill this dog just to make this little girl cry. Yeah.
Well, is the added thing that she's a Declonius with horns on her head, so it's discrimination in that regard, but I don't know why they had to take it out on the dog.
On one hand, yeah, that was part of the discrimination. They didn't know she was a Declonus specifically, but they're like, oh, she's a weird girl with horns. I can accept, like, all of them wanting to make fun of her or to be mean to her. I just think that killing the dog was going too far. Again, if one of the kids was fucked up to want to kill the dog, that's more believable. There are kids that are fucked up. But I'm just saying, like, all of the kids being fucked up in the head enough to want to kill the dog was unrealistic.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I saw it, I was horrified by that. And then looking back at it, I think that scene is mostly just for shock value of killing the dog. There's no reason for it.
Well, I would say the killing of the dog was important for Lucy's character in that moment.
It did unleash her power.
That was the moment that triggered Lucy becoming aware of her powers, and she started having this disdain for other people, and she started becoming very untrusting of others.
She had a bond with the dog, and when she was isolated from all the kids, the dog was her only friend. So naturally, the death of your friend would make you really pissed.
I would say that the intent behind the scene was in its right place. I think the scene itself was mishandled.
Well, the motivation for the kids to kill the dog. I mean, we've seen their little shits, they're bullies, but did we really see animal killers there?
Not really, I don't think so.
Yeah, because, you know, if Lucy hadn't have killed them, I guarantee they would have grown up to be serial killers.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
One thing about that scene I actually thought was handled well was how when we see that the other girl was talking about, like, no, I didn't think you guys would do that or whatever. The girl that Lucy trusted. We go into Lucy's head during that scene. She was being really untrusting at that moment. She was starting to gain this untrustingness of other people. And then you see the little girl start smiling as if this was the plan all along, to just be mean to her. And I think at that moment, it actually makes it hard to discern. Was the little girl actually smiling like that? Or was Lucy imagining that due to her growing distrust? And I thought that was actually a good scene.
I'd like to think that she was pretending to be her friend just to get to her. I mean, I'm sure we've known probably some people like that who pretend to be your friend just to, in a way, bully you, being mean behind your back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what makes that scene work was that it is kind of up to interpretation of, was she actually her friend and then she fucked up? Or was she actually in on it the whole time and did want to see her suffer?
What do you think?
I think I agree with you. I think it was the plan the whole time to just be mean to her. She promised that she wouldn't tell the other boys, and then she did anyways.
Well, yeah, as a shitty friend, so...
But, you know, you could probably make a reasonable argument. Maybe she just messed up. Maybe the boys peer pressured her, and she didn't expect it to be as bad as it turned out. I think either way is valid.
Yeah, I'm still having the opinion that she's a shitty friend and just did that to bully her.
No, yeah, I agree. And I guess the last nice thing I will say about it was that the ultimate Declonus girl towards the end, Mariko, she was Kurama's daughter. And for the longest time, watching the show, I thought Nana was Kurama's daughter.
Did you?
That actually took me off guard, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's better. If it would have turned out to have been Nana, I would have been like, that's really predictable. But for it to have been Mariko instead, I was like, oh, okay.
It just surprised you like that M. Night Shyamalan twist.
And now I need to strongly assert right now, despite all of the nice things I have been saying about the show, I do want to make it very fucking clear that I do not like this show at all. I'm just not dishonest, and I'm not going to just say that there are only bad things about it. I do want to take the time to point out there were good things about it. There were things I liked about it.
Oh, you're tearing me apart, shouldn't I?
So first off, this show looked like garbage.
My heart broke.
Yeah, I said the backgrounds looked nice, but aside from the backgrounds, this show looked like dog shit. The animation was so bad. The animation was so cheap. And the art style was... I hated the way these characters looked. And that's a really, really subjective thing, I know, but I'm sorry, I hated the way these characters looked. Their eyes are like, even for an anime character, these eyes were like way too big. I hated the way this show looked.
I'm going to disagree with you there because with Elfen Lied, it was very colorful, and I liked that.
I thought that the dialogue and exposition in the show was garbage. There were times where the show just blatantly explains things to the audience. And I was just like, no, why? There was one part where Mayu was explaining the significance of New cutting her hair. How about you let the audience figure that out for themselves? We don't need a character to just explain to us what the symbolism of that was. A good example was in Final Fantasy IX. The main heroine, Garnet, at one point during the story, she has very long, beautiful hair. And then she asked the main character to hand her a dagger, and then she cut her long hair. Nobody said anything about it, because they wanted you to figure out for yourself why she did that. That was supposed to be her moment of taking responsibility for everything that's happened, and to show that she is trying to grow up and she is going to fix the problems that have occurred, whether they were directly or indirectly her fault. That she was going to take responsibility and that she was going to fix the problems that she caused. I didn't need fucking Mayu explaining why New cut her fucking hair. Fucking let me figure it out. I figured that shit out. I could have figured this shit out too.
Is this show better than Yosugana Sora?
I don't know.
You don't know?
You stumped me.
Because you said Yosugana Sora was better than School Days. So School Days is clearly, down here somewhere, like in the abyss.
Here's the thing. On my anime list, like in my reviews or whatever, I don't give scores. But on that site, I put scores just to give people an idea of how I feel about something. For all three shows, I'm pretty sure I gave them all threes. I gave them all the same score. So take that for what you will, I guess.
Okay. What's your lowest score on that website?
Sword for Truth and Junk Boy. They both have ones.
No zeros or 0.8?
No, they don't allow zeros.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then there was a part where Yuka was explaining how Kota was nice to girls because of his dead sister. This is another example of the show needlessly explaining things to the audience. Something like that I should be able to figure out on my own because of how well the director was able to phrase the dialogue or present scenes. I didn't need a character to dump that information on me.
I personally don't mind the exposition in the show, but that's just me.
And you were talking about shock value before with the dog. I think this show suffers from a lot of shock value. I thought that the show had way too much gore, way too much needless and excessive gore. All of the characters in this show are blood piñatas. It's all over the place. The gore is also like really hyper detailed, and that personally bugs me. Just like it makes me feel sick seeing that kind of thing. When someone's fingers get sliced and you see the bone and meat and stuff, like that sort of thing just bothers me. I just don't like seeing that sort of thing.
Shintai, do you know what age rating Elfen Lied has in the UK?
What?
15.
What the fuck?
This is a 15 rating uncut, because they don't censor it over here. But this is uncut, so just think about that. It's on the same level as Madoka Magica, another Spice and Wolf over here, Bleach as well. Yeah.
Okay, here's another scene that didn't make any sense. So in the first episode, Lucy uses the secretary's body as a shield. Why did she do that?
To not get hit.
But she had proven, it had been proven right beforehand that she's able to block the bullets without doing something like that. So to me, that was let's do another shocking thing just for the sake of it.
I'll agree with you there.
Yes! I'm winning! There was also Mayu's backstory where she was sexually abused. What did that add? Other than to see her, get naked and bend over. Blech.
It was to explain why she ran away.
It could have been for something not fucked up and disgusting. She could have just been abused or something. It could have just been she had shitty parents.
Well, she did have shitty parents.
Yeah, but it could have just simply been they were abusing her physically. They didn't need to make it sexual. To me, again, that's more shock value. She had a creepy stepdad that wanted her to get naked and bend over and just ugh, disgusting.
And her mum blamed her for that as well.
And speaking of naked little girls, this was literally in almost every episode. I felt dirty watching this show.
Really? I've watched this show with my family.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was during Christmas time, actually. Me, my sister, and my mum, and my dad watched this show. You're speechless.
I am. I don't know how to respond to that, so let's move on.
Well, on your criticism about the naked children in the show, I would say this. The nudity is not sexualized. It's natural nudity. I think the way you're feeling maybe disgusted at it, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, because over here in like UK, Europe, etc., seen naked people a lot. Well, I have, especially in France.
Okay, it might be a cultural thing.
Yeah, it might be that. That's why I can watch it with my family.
Seeing a bunch of little girls naked really just repulsed me. So, I don't know, maybe it is a cultural thing. I also thought that the show was kind of predictable. Granted, there was that one part I was saying before that took me off guard. Give the show that. But there were plenty of other things in the show I thought were pretty predictable. Like Lucy was the one that killed Kota's father and sister. That was really heavily just, yeah, no shit to me. Another thing that was really predictable about the show was just, it was basically, if you are a Declonus in this show, you had a shit life.
Discrimination.
And bad things happened to you. So, like, Nana had a shit life. Mariko had a shit life. Especially the way that she went out, where she fucking blew up with her dad. Literally, all the Declonus just were tragic. All of them. It became faux pas to me.
It's because they're like government property, so they just do experiments on them and stuff. They don't want them running out in public and stuff because they're dangerous creatures, as they see them.
Speaking of which, I have a bunch of questions that were not answered in the show about the Declonus. First of all, why are they all girls? Where did they come from? Why do they have horns? What is the significance of the horns? How can they bleed from their horns? That's not how horns work. Why are their vectors invisible? What the fuck are their vectors? How do the vectors recede into their bodies? Where does their killing intent come from? Why is it specifically humans? How is this not a highly controlled epidemic when you should be able to see the horns during an ultrasound before birth?
Nana didn't really have any violent intent, did she?
Yes, she did.
In the fight with Lucy? Is that what you're referring to?
There was a moment with the crazy military dude where she kind of lost it for a moment. She started muttering stuff about like, oh, I'm gonna kill all humans, and then she snapped out of it. And that kind of implies to me that the Declonus have this natural killing intent for humans, and it's never explained why.
Well, the thing with that scene is that Bando pretty much came up to her, noticed she had horns, and was like, that's a Declonius, I am going to provoke her now. So you could argue that Nana was provoked, therefore violent intent in her being emerged.
Why would it go from, okay, she's being assaulted by this guy, right? She's defending herself, I get that. But why would it turn into, okay, I'm being attacked by this one guy, I need to defend myself from this one guy, to, I gotta kill all humans now? Because she said something along those lines.
Moment of insanity.
It's just that all of the Declonus just seem to have this natural urge to want to kill humans, not really explained why. I mean, yeah, granted they get treated like shit by humans, but she had her dad, okay, technically not her dad, but she was treated really nice by him. She seemed to be pretty happy for the most part. And then she had just one moment where she got treated like shit by this one guy. I felt it wasn't explained well enough.
Okay, won't argue that.
I'm winning! Yes!
You're not winning, I'm just like, I'll acknowledge that.
By the end of this, you'll accept that your favorite show is shit.
Highly doubtful.
Okay, we were talking about Mayu before. What is the point of her character in general?
To befriend Nana and bring her to them.
So she's a plot device.
Exactly. Well, aren't all characters plot devices? To get plot going?
Not necessarily. The term specifically refers to a character that exists solely to move forward the plot, and they don't have any relevance beyond that.
Fair enough.
I also felt like this moment in the show, like I think it was in the first episode, like at the end of the first episode, where the main character meets Lucy on the beach. Now, I could have accepted in the flashback if Lucy and Kota had met each other due to happenstance. I can accept it happening like once. But the fact that these same people would then meet each other again in the future, like randomly like this, it feels contrived.
Small world.
Not that fucking small. Also, what the fuck does incest have to do with anything? With Kota and his cousin?
It's legal to marry your cousin in Japan.
But It didn't add anything to the story. And
Well, it just shows that Yuka was jealous of all these girls that Kota was bringing back, and her jealousy was kind of consuming her.
okay, but what did that add? What relevance does that have to anything?
It adds to Yuka's character, I guess, to show that she's a jealous person.
She's a jealous bitch. I found her generally annoying. I didn't like her character.
Really? I thought she was fine.
She annoyed me. I was just like, she's just a jealous, annoying bitch, and she even gets jealous of him with Mayu, who's like a little girl. What is wrong with her?
She just wants him all for herself.
She just wants that Oni-chan dick all to herself. Again, like, I felt that the incest angle, I think it really added much, other than, I guess with Lucy as well, she had feelings for Kota, and that added to the barrier in their relationship, but I don't think they had to be cousins.
Well, you would prefer them to be siblings?
No, fuck you! No, they could have just been friends and that they reunited again. Her being his cousin, just for it to be incestual, just for the sake of it, in my eyes, is just pointless. And Yosuga no Sora, I mean, I may not have liked the show, but the incest had a point. It was relevant. It made sense. It was central to the core theme of the show. They built upon it and they fleshed it out. We don't get any of that fucking shit in this. It's just fucking incest. There you go.
Seriously, a lot of anime shows I've watched have incest in there, either as a subplot or just in the background. It's like, can't escape it.
Yeah, I know. I guess I don't watch enough anime of that kind, and it still bothers me. I was actually praising the backstory before with Lucy, right?
Now you're gonna shit on it?
Well, here's the thing. If this one element was taken out of the backstory would have been really, really good. And that was whenever Lucy went on her senseless killing sprees. I felt what the point of that backstory was to get us to feel for her character, to sympathize with her character, to get us to understand her character. And I felt like every step of the way the show was trying to detract from that by having her going around and killing people, like going to people's houses and just randomly killing them for no reason. And then she would turn around and then act like a normal little girl and play with Kota. And I felt the two were diametrically opposed to each other in trying to convey what the show was trying to get the audience to feel.
So are you saying the violence disconnected you from how emotional it was?
Right. I felt like her just randomly killing people for no reason when she wasn't playing with Kota, that took away any sympathy that I felt for her. Because during the flashback, it showed her being a normal little girl, and she was having a good time with Kota. They went to the zoo, and they just had a really nice time together. Those moments, I think, would have been a lot more effective, and it would have been a lot better if we didn't have these other scenes to take away from it.
Fair enough.
One more point for me.
No, I'm acknowledging, you're acknowledging that there are flaws with it and whatnot, but I'm just like, fair enough, can't argue against it. It's your opinion.
Everything has flaws, and I accept that you really like this show, and that's fine. The way I see it, flaws, whether they're big or small, they affect us in different ways. And these are flaws that for you, they don't really bother you. And for me, they had a bigger impact.
The thing with me is that video, my anime story video, because I'm kind of, I guess, biased towards this because Elfen Lied was kind of my introduction to anime narrative. So I saw this as fresh and new.
And I guess me seeing it after I've seen fucking decades worth of anime in my life, to me, it's not new or fresh. To me, it's just bleh.
Yeah. The thing is that with Elfen Lied, it was my first view of seeing an animation that was emotional and as adult as any other film I'd seen. And at that point, the only animation I knew was Disney stuff and the stuff I'd seen on Cartoon Network, like my favorite shows like Samurai Jack and Ed, Edd n Eddy and stuff like that. So this was all new and fresh to me, which is why I'm biased towards it, because it holds a special place in my heart because of that reason.
Fair enough. It's still shit, but fair enough.
Great, I give a heartfelt speech, and you're like, oh, it's still shit.
Let me see, I've still got some more complaints in my bag of bitching. So this is something I feel is a big plot hole. And this is something that happened in the first episode and during one of the flashbacks, and I think even the crazy military dude had this. Armor-piercing shells. Why isn't every single military soldier using these bullets?
Well, you see, they're too expensive. They're too expensive. They need to put their money in, Declonius research and stuff like that. So
I could accept that if there was an explanation, but there isn't. So, is it me, or can no one in this show, even though they're trained soldiers, can actually shoot worth a damn? This is like the Star Wars effect, where like none of this clone troopers.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. They're stormtroopers. I guess the Declonius are hard to kill, probably.
No, yeah, the Declonius are hard to kill, granted. But I remember there were instances where like they weren't shooting at Declonius, still their aim was off, just conveniently. Here's something that just flat out does not ever get explained or anything. They just drop it. There was this little one guy in the college, and he was going to have sex with Lucy.
The professor?
Yeah. And then at the very last episode, it turns out that the director of the entire organization, he's the exact same. They both have horns. What is this? Just what the fuck is this?
They called in M. Night Shyamalan as a creative consultant.
Wow. You're throwing your own favorite show under the bus.
No, I just think it's fun making fun of it with you. I've done this to some of my favorite films of all time, made fun of them with my friends. I just like doing that.
Fair enough. What the fuck? And this was actually something that was different in the manga. A friend of mine assured me that this was different in the manga, so this looks like it was just the anime studio fucking around. After Kota remembers that Lucy was the one that killed his family, he still wants to be with her. And then they make out. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to kiss the person that killed my dad and sister. I don't know. It doesn't sound like something I'd like to do.
I know in the manga he isn't as forgiving, and he's actually pretty cruel to her. It makes sense.
There was a lot of stuff with the ultimate Declonus girl that didn't make sense towards the end. They put explosives in Mariko, the ultimate Declonus girl, so that if she does things that they don't want her to do, they could blow her up. Why didn't they do that to Lucy and Nana?
Was it explained that she was born in the facility?
I think.
Yeah, because Lucy wasn't born in that facility.
No.
So I guess they couldn't plant bombs on her because, I don't know, she's of the age where they can't do that. And maybe they didn't do it to Nana because she isn't as much as a threat.
See, but again, these are assumptions. There's nothing conclusive.
Exactly, and I can assume things all I want.
You can. I can't say you can't, but I feel like it's on too much shaky ground and not enough time was spent thinking about this sort of thing. To me, it was like, this is a good idea. Let's put explosives in her head so we can tell her what to do. And it seemed like a good idea to do that at that point in the story, but didn't think of the ramifications it would have when you look back on it. I would have been fine if they would have just simply explained why it was they couldn't do it. Even if it was something arbitrary, I think at least some sort of an explanation would have been nice.
Here's something I should ask you about it. Elfen Lied's quite a heavy show, the drama and stuff. There were some ecchi moments towards the start of it. What did you think of those?
I guess it didn't really bother me that much, mostly because the show felt to me like it was trying to just suppose that it's a dark show and also that it's like a lighthearted show. I don't know if it worked or not. I'm more inclined to say it didn't, but I can at least see what it was trying to do, so it didn't really bother me on that end.
Well, some of my favorite aspects of the show are just like the kind of slice of life things where they're at the house doing stuff. I like that.
Okay, cool. I didn't really care for them, but they didn't really bother me either.
Did you watch the OVA?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The OVA did explain how Lucy got captured.
And why she didn't kill the chief guy at the start.
Yeah, although it kind of created another problem of, during that scene, she was hanging out with her friend. Neither of them noticed when the entire room was filled with soldiers. Literally, the entire room is completely filled with soldiers, and they didn't notice.
Fair enough.
Here is my final point of contention with the show. There is no resolution for the plot. It's another go read the manga ending.
The ending to the show is actually very up to your interpretation.
How so?
Who's at the door at the end?
Lucy.
You think it's Lucy?
It's definitely Lucy.
It could be New.
Oh, that's what you meant. It could have been New or Lucy.
My friend gave a pretty good interpretation about what he thinks about the ending. Because you know how throughout the show, New is obsessed with that clock.
Uh-huh.
And she keeps trying to get it to work. And with Lucy, it's the music box that symbolizes her. In that final scene, the clock starts to work and the box doesn't. So my friend thinks that it's New at the door because the clock symbolizes that it's now just fully her, and the music box dying symbolizes that Lucy's dead.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. All right, okay, I'll give it that. That's not bad. I didn't catch that. Well, my problem, I thought the scene with Lucy dying, at this point in the story, I could not care at all about her character. To make it seem like her character had died to me, just so it could show like, oh, she's not actually dead, to me was just like, fuck off, I don't care.
Did the ending make you cry? Did it touch you at all? Did you cry during the show?
I'm not even going to justify that with a response.
What? You weren't touched or cried?
Fucking no.
Well, Shintai, when I watched the show with my family, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Nothing about this show, literally nothing about this show made me feel sad. Nothing.
I guess I'm just an over-emotional person.
So, after all of that, I have to say that Elfen Lied, while not the worst thing I've ever seen...
Yeah, that's something.
It's easily one of my most hated anime.
Oh, my heart is breaking. Why could you do this to me?
I think it's a piece of shit. It's got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. It's got shitty characters I don't give a fuck about. It looks like dog shit, and I don't like it. So what is your response to all of this hate and vitriol?
That's your problem, that you can't realize the genius of this show? In all seriousness, though, it's your opinion, so can't argue against it.
Hey, it's just like my opinion, man.
And I'm not a butthurt fan of it. It's my favorite anime because of a lot of different reasons, not just because I think it's a great show, but other things, which I explain in my video about my story.
Hey, man. At the end of the day, we all interpret things differently. Things affect us differently. I hated it, but if you liked it and that's your thing, and based on what you told me, it had an emotional impact on you, and I can understand that, so it's cool.
Yeah, well, what emotionally touches someone won't emotionally touch someone else, so it's very different. But I love it. Would you say the show's infamous in the anime world?
I think it's divisive. I think for as many people that like it, there are as many that don't.
I know, like, School Days is something that's, like, infamous for its ending and Makoto being an asshole. But the general consensus with School Days is that a lot of people hate it, mainly. With Elfen Lied, I've seen, like, a lot of people say it's a masterpiece. A lot of people, like you've just said, hate it. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who's mixed about it. Like, they've always said they've really loved it or really hated it. So I guess it's one of those shows.
I would agree with that. It's a very love-hate show. My perspective of that is I think a lot of people that love it may be in a similar boat as you, where it was probably the anime that showed them, hey, look, anime can be dark. It can be mature. And it holds a special place in their heart for that reason.
Well, yeah, it was very new to me. Like, also the terms of the ecchi comedy stuff. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, whoa, this animation's breaking ground. It's being really sexual and stuff. I've never seen that before. Same with the nudity. Never seen that in animation before.
In the end, yeah, Elfen Lied, one of the worst anime I've seen. I think it's terrible. And I highly advise not watching it. It's a waste of time.
And I have the complete opposite opinion, and I highly advise that at least give it a chance. I mean, give the first episode a chance.
Thank you very much for joining me, David. Always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure for you to shit on everything else.
Be sure to check out his channel, PathofOblivion, where he hosts the excellent Sex God anime reviews. Definitely check that out. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, if you can, I don't know, get past the fact I'm playing a character in it, not being myself.
Well, that's a fun character. That's what makes it work.
And watch the episodes of Shintai, because he plays a character.
Yes, I play as a mafia mob boss. And apparently that character will return one of these days. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
Alright, this has been Shintai and my good friend, David. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.